Gol Gumbaz. Gol Gumbaz at Bijapur is one of the most famous mausoleum in India, not only because of its size but even more because of its amazing constructive design. In size, the interior diameter of hall 135 feet 5 inch and of dome 124 feet 5 inch. The entire area of the hall amounts to over 18,000 square feet. Thus, it is considerable larger in area than the Pantheon at Rome, which measure 15,833 square feet. So that the Gol Gumbaz may claim to be the largest domical roof in existence. For the immense size, unique in India, had become possible only by means of a complicated system of intersecting pointed arches, of which twice four form quadrangles dislocated by 30 degrees. Thus the transforming the gigantic cube of the hall into a polygon supported by those pointed arches and bearing the hardly less gigantic dome. The shape of the Gol Gumbaz mathematically so perfect that it offers an amazing echo, rendering the slightest whispers audible and understandable on the opposite side of the gallery beneath the dome. Otherwise, the Gol Gumbaz represents the accustomed type of the Muslim mausoleum, in this case of Sultan Muhammad Adil Shah, a substructure of underground rooms which enclose the actual royal tombs covered only by loose soil, and thereupon a central platform supporting the pavilion with the royal cenotaphs, and outside porticoes and galleries in the cross axis, and four octagonal corner towers of 7 stories, each crowned by the traditional Dekhni cupolas. Of course, the whole architectural complex is completed by the traditional buildings belonging to every mausoleum, a mosque and an entrance gate, however in a quite different, genuinely Dekhni style. For the design of the architect presupposed an absolute mastery of the construction of genuine arches and vaults. It is so complicated that without that mastery the whole building would collapse. It appears quite obvious that the designing architect of the Gol Gumbaz had been a foreigner who had found favor with Sultan Muhammad Adil Shah, but likewise almost insurmountable difficulties with local masons. The Ottoman Turkish architecture created by Sinan flourished until the 19th century, the most famous later works being the so-called Blue Mosque dedicated by Sultan Ahmad I at Istanbul, and the Fort Mosque erected by the Viceroy Muhammad Ali near Cairo, not to mention innumerable minor works. For though we know little about this family and peoples, it is certain that without a numerous trained staff and trained not only in masonry work but even more in mathematics and applied geometry, even his own immense work would not have been possible. Could perhaps the Ottoman Turkish conception of the Gol Gumbaz have been the idea of a foreigner immigrated from the Ottoman Empire? No inscription, no document mentions his name. Of course, this is not surprising in view of the fact that the decline and fall of Bijapur in the late 17th century and its stirring history in the 18th century have permitted only very few Adil Shahi documents to survive destruction. The Gol Gumbaz contains only one indifferent inscription at the south entrance, which is in 3 compartments, each of these 3 sections in complete sentence in itself, and each on computing the values of the Persian letters gives the date of Muhammad's death as 1067 Hijri. These sentences read, "The end of Muhammad has become laudable. Muhammad Sultan, whose abode is in paradise, the abode of peace, became Muhammad Shah." Dr. Hermann Goethe states that the plainness of the building, the almost complete absence of ornamental decorations and of inscriptions is exceptional and can be explained only by the assumption that the Gol Gumbaz half finished was completed by different local hands at the possible minimum of costs. However, a person imagining an extraordinary monument probably had been connected with other building activities, and therefore we should rather study all the Bijapur inscriptions of the 17th century. Further, Dr. Goiz says Malik Sandal's name as Haji, later Khwaja, then Malik Sandal, probably identical also with Malik Sundar. He turns up first in connection with the mausoleum of Sultan Ibrahim Adil Shah II and is later mentioned as builder, architect or commissioner of quite a number of monuments, mosques, tombs of royal family, especially of the queens. Simple or rich, Dekhni or half foreign, Sundar may be a different person but can likewise be an Indianization of Sandal. Who then had been this unique architect Malik Sandal? The Arabic name merely lets it appear probable that he had been a foreign eunuch, however, that his name first turning up in connection with the decoration of Ibrahim Rauza is very interesting. For this decoration reveals a very strong influence of contemporary Ottoman Turkish art, and in Islamic art, architecture and ornamental design often were done by the same persons, both demanding a considerable measure of geometrical mathematical knowledge. Thus, this Ottoman Turkish decoration may have been Malik Sandal's introductory recommendation, and Gol Gumbaz only the ambitious project of a man who at Bijapur had found a good job as architectural expert, but hitherto no chance for doing the best he had learned. When coming to India, Malik Sandal can have been no more young for knowledge of mathematics and practice of architecture, who would demand at least 10 years. He travelled to Mecca pilgrimage and became Haji, and being later on Khwaja, he must also have studied theology. Thus, when meeting Ibrahim Adil Shah II as a contributor to the ornamentation of the Rauza, probably he was already more than 40, if not already about 50, and as the construction of Gol Gumbaz, unaccustomed work to the Indian masons, probably progressed rather slowly. It seems that he died before the work could be completed. However, he could have been a Russian child kidnapped by the Tatars of the Ukraine, or one from a Mediterranean mercantile town sacked by the Corsairs under the protection of the Sublime Porte. Thus, it would be tempting to think of Haji Khwaja Malik Sandal as one of the younger architects employed in the erection of the famous Blue Mosque in Istanbul, then starting on a pilgrimage and at least being welcomed by Ibrahim Adil Shah II, who had learned of that miracle created in Istanbul. But for such a conclusion, evidence is absent, and the Gol Gumbaz Malik Sandal's creation was only after his death, partly completed, merely the indispensable framework without the supplementary architecture, without decoration, without inscriptions, and yet something still amazing enough.